There is a dream that does not come from comfort. It doesn't arrive to lull you to sleep. It awakens you. If you have this dream, then know, you have not been chosen for ease, but for transformation, not for escape, but initiation. This is not a dream of fame, nor riches, nor applause. It is the dream of becoming whole. And if that dream burns in you, quietly or violently, then you are among the rarest, the ones marked by the fire. The dream that haunts you, the one that keeps returning no matter how far you run from it, is not a product of your ambition or your conscious desires. It is not a fantasy stitched together by the ego to escape reality. It is something far older, deeper, and more mysterious. It comes from a part of you that you do not control, a part that lives beneath your identity, beyond your plans, untouched by culture, time, or trends. This dream is not asking for your permission, it is announcing itself. It is the soul's signal, emerging from the depths of the unconscious like a flare shot through the dark night of your life. It arrives not as a fully formed idea, but as an image, a yearning, a quiet insistence. You may feel it as restlessness, as discontent with a life that looks perfectly fine from the outside, but feels suffocating on the inside. Or you may see it in visions that come in the middle of ordinary days, a sudden moment of clarity, a strange synchronicity, a symbol that follows you like a shadow. This is not coincidence. This is the language of the soul trying to get your attention. The soul does not shout, it sends signs, and if you're quiet enough to listen, you'll realize that the dream is not something you've invented, it's something you've remembered, something that has always been trying to reach you. The ego may reject it. It may call the dream foolish, unrealistic, dangerous, but the soul doesn't care about logic. It cares about wholeness. It cares about the truth of who you are and the reason you were born. And if this dream has found you, it means something in you is ready to wake up, ready to shed the layers of artificial living, ready to return to what is essential, even if it costs you the world you've known. The dream doesn't want your comfort. It wants your transformation. Those who are chosen by such dreams are not chosen because they are special. They are chosen because they are willing to feel. Willing to question, willing to fall apart if that's what it takes to become real. When the soul sends this signal, it is not asking for small changes. It is calling you to a new life, a life where meaning matters more than image, where depth matters more than speed, where your actions are not dictated by fear, but guided by the inner pull of something sacred and unexplainable. This dream is not separate from who you are. It is who you are. Not the self you've been trained to be, but the deeper self that has been waiting for its moment. The dream is the bridge between your current life and the life that is yours to live. And if you answer its call, everything false will fall away. Because the soul does not negotiate, it does not compromise, it demands everything, but in return, it gives you something beyond anything the surface world can offer: authenticity, purpose, and the quiet, unstoppable power of a life lived in alignment with your original nature. The dream that chooses you is not gentle. It does not flatter you or offer easy comfort. It is not here to reinforce the image you have crafted for others, nor to uphold the illusions that have kept you safe. It comes with a quiet violence, an invitation to destruction disguised as destiny, and the first thing it destroys is everything that is not true. When the dream begins its work in you, it will not build you up with praise or reward. No, it will take you apart, slowly, deliberately, lovingly, ruthlessly. At first, you may mistake this unraveling for failure. Things fall through your fingers, certainties vanish, the old way of living, what once worked, what once defined you, stops making sense. You may feel lost, disoriented, even betrayed by life. But this is not the dream abandoning you. It is the dream confronting the false structures that cannot hold its weight. The dream is too vast, too sacred, to sit inside a house made of fear, lies, or borrowed identities. So it begins by burning that house down, and you standing amid the ashes will feel as though something in you has died, and you're right, something has. The version of you that was built on approval, on habit, on the shallow rewards of conformity, that part cannot survive the dream. It was never meant to. The dream does not negotiate with your mask. It waits for your face. It doesn't ask what you want to achieve. It asks what you are willing to lose. This is why so few follow the dream to its end. Because before it gives you vision, it gives you pain. Before it grants you power, it brings you to your knees, not to punish you, but to make room for the deeper self, room for the sacred to enter. If your hands are full of old trophies, old roles, old lies, you cannot carry the sword the dream gives you, and so it tests you, through heartbreak, through doubt, through the long, quiet nights where nothing seems to move. These are not dead ends. They are initiations. They are the chambers in which your former self dies and your true self is born, not in a burst of glory, but in a slow, agonizing shedding. The dream does not care how polished you are. It cares how honest you are, how empty you are of pretense, how ready you are to carry something holy. When the breaking is complete, you will look back and understand. You will see that everything that collapsed had to collapse, that the ruins were not the end, they were the foundation, because the dream only builds where truth can stand, and once that ground is cleared, the real work begins, but not before, never before. First, it must break you, not to harm you, but to reveal you, not to diminish you, but to make you whole. Only then can you carry the dream not as a burden, but as a blessing. This dream does not appear in the places where everything is tidy and whole. It doesn't emerge from success, comfort, or the routines that keep the surface of life smooth. No, this kind of dream comes from the places where you've been torn open. It arrives wrapped in pain, disguised as longing, buried in the very wounds you've spent years trying to avoid. And yet, if you have the courage to return to those wounds, not to escape them, but to listen, you will find that they were not meaningless. They were encrypted with direction. The wound was never the end. It was the beginning of the path. We are taught to hide our pain, to medicate it, to bury it under distraction or denial. But the dream waits there quietly, inside the very thing you thought disqualified you from ever being whole. Maybe it was heartbreak, abandonment, humiliation, betrayal. Maybe it was the moment you felt invisible, or the day you realized the world had no place for your truth. Wherever it was, whatever it looked like, know this: the wound is not the enemy. It is the message, and the dream lives inside it. The reason the dream is hidden there is simple. Only in the place of vulnerability are we fully open. When everything falls apart, when the ego's armor cracks, when there is nothing left to pretend, that's when the soul can speak without being interrupted. Pain softens us. It humbles us. It creates silence deep enough for the voice underneath all voices to emerge. And that voice doesn't speak in answers. It speaks in symbols, in strange urges, in recurring visions, in impossible desires. You feel them in the wound because the wound pierced the surface self. It opened a portal to the deep self. This is why your deepest longing often comes from your deepest suffering. It's not a coincidence. The dream was planted in that place, so you would go back there not to suffer again, but to retrieve something sacred. The world told you to move on, to forget, to toughen up, but your soul whispers something else. Go back. There's something you left behind. There's something you buried beneath the pain. That something is your calling, your story, your gift, and you can only claim it by facing what once broke you. This doesn't mean romanticizing suffering. Pain is not noble by itself, but what you do with pain, how you meet it, how you listen to it, how you let it guide you, that is where transformation lies. The wound asks for your presence, not your pity. It wants to be honored, not hidden. When you return to it with open eyes and open hands, you'll find not just hurt, but direction. You'll find the map. A map that shows you what you are made to do, what you are made to heal, what you are made to give. And the map doesn't lead you away from who you are. It leads you deeper in. It shows you that the thing you thought made you broken is the very thing that makes you powerful. The dream didn't come despite the wound. It came through it. That is the paradox of true purpose. It waits in the place where you thought you had lost everything. And when you enter that place with courage, you don't just find the dream. You find yourself. The dream does not seek crowds. It is not attracted to noise, nor does it grow in the spotlight of public approval. It looks for the one who is willing to walk without applause, without certainty, and without the comforting illusion of belonging. The dream chooses those who can endure the silence, because silence is where the soul speaks most clearly. If you carry a dream that feels immense, that isolates you, that others do not understand, it is not because you are lost. It is because you have been set apart. From the moment the dream enters your life, it begins to separate you, not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. The dream does not ask for shallow alliances. It asks for intimacy with truth. And truth, when pursued fully, rarely fits inside the systems that surround you. The friends who once felt like home may now feel like distance. The conversations that used to fill you might now drain you. You find yourself walking roads where no one else is walking, not because you're wrong, but because you're becoming. And the world, which craves conformity, may call your solitude strange. It may accuse you of arrogance, rebellion, or even madness. But in truth, you are not withdrawing out of pride. You are making space, space for something ancient to rise, space for something holy to speak. Those who follow the dream must be willing to walk through deserts where no validation comes. They must be able to keep going even when no one is watching, even when everything inside them cries out for reassurance. Because the dream is not a performance, it is a path, and it is walked in the interior, not the exterior. There will be seasons of intense loneliness, the kind that gnaws at your bones and tempts you to return to the crowd just for the illusion of connection. But if you compromise the dream for comfort, you lose the very thing that made you chosen. You must learn to find company in your own presence, to build fire in the cold, to speak to the invisible when the visible world goes quiet. This is not weakness, it is training. The solitude is shaping you into someone who no longer needs the world's permission to exist. It is forging a self that answers only to truth. And strangely, as you go deeper into that solitude, you begin to realize you are not truly alone. You are accompanied by something vast, something intelligent, something that has been waiting for you to be still enough to hear it. The dream walks beside you, even when no one else does. It guides you not with loud commands, but with whispers that grow louder as your fear dissolves. The solitude becomes sacred. The path becomes clear, not easy, but honest. When the time is right, others may appear, kindred spirits who carry their own wild dreams, their own sacred loneliness. But until then, you must walk ahead without them, because the dream only reveals its deepest wisdom to those who can bear the cost of walking alone. Not out of superiority, but out of surrender, surrender to the fire, surrender to the vision, surrender to the mystery that calls you by name in the middle of a darkened road and dares you to keep walking when no one else understands why. The dream that burns inside you is not a possession. It is not a personal trophy to display, nor a ladder to climb for your own glory. It is not about your ego, your image, or even your success in the way the world defines it. This kind of dream, if it is real, does not belong to you. It moves through you. It chooses you as a vessel, not as a master. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner the dream can do its true work. At first, it feels like it is about you. The vision excites your sense of purpose, fills you with energy, gives you a reason to rise in the morning. You feel chosen, unique, powerful, and you are, but not in the way the surface self wants to be. The dream doesn't arrive to inflate you, it arrives to hollow you out, to carve a channel in your being deep enough, wide enough, true enough for something far greater than your personal story to pass through. It asks not, what do you want to create? But rather, are you willing to be used for something sacred? This is the moment when the ego starts to resist. It wants to claim the dream, to shape it, to market it, to make it a brand. But the dream resists being owned. It lives in mystery. It is ancient, archetypal, vast. It does not bend to your will. It bends you to its will. And this is terrifying to the parts of you that crave control. But liberation does not come from control. It comes from surrender. The dream becomes most powerful when you stop trying to use it and start allowing it to use you. To be a vessel is not passive. It is the highest form of responsibility. It means becoming clean enough to carry something holy without distorting it. It means clearing out the noise, the pride, the performative layers that block its flow. It means listening more than speaking, observing more than announcing, serving more than striving. And in that service, something profound begins to happen. You start to feel free, free from the burden of having to make something happen. Because now you realize, it's not you making anything happen. You are being moved. The most powerful ones are not the loudest or the most admired. They are the ones who have become transparent. You look through them and see something eternal. Their words pierce, not because they are clever, but because they are true. Their actions matter, not because they are grand, but because they are aligned. The dream speaks through them like wind through a flute, clear, haunting, unrepeatable. And when the dream has finished what it came to do, it may even leave. Or it may evolve, because it was never yours to begin with. You were a passageway, a bridge, a sacred echo in time. And when you understand this, your identity begins to shift. You no longer ask, what can I take? But what can I carry? You no longer strive to be seen, you live to see. You no longer need to be praised, because the deepest fulfillment comes not from applause, but from alignment. To be chosen is not a reward, it is a responsibility. To carry a dream is not to rise above others, but to kneel before something greater. And when you finally let the dream move through you, without resistance, without pride, you become what you were always meant to be, not the source of the fire, but the one who walks as flame.